I mean, listen, we talking about practice, not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice.
Welcome to another edition of Off Script Career Advice from your SkillSharp, the podcast team. My name is Brian Wright, and there's been a lot of information and articles coming out in the news about the impact of AI on not just recent graduates and their entry into the kind of the start of the job market, but also for pivoting people, people that are seasoned, experienced, either executives or managerial level professionals. Essentially, people think that AI is being incorporated so fast into businesses and their legacy systems that it is, creating the layoff situation and AI is taking away jobs. That's not the case. It's a it's a fear tactic. It is a signal of what is to come, but only if people let it. AI is here to be a one-to-one support of individuals in various business processes. Bottom line. So if you do not realize and start to understand how AI integrates itself into the different steps of your process that are sometimes arduous or redundant or take up too much time and aren't extremely value added, but they're critical in the overall process of what you do functionally, then you're not thinking about how to make yourself better in that process. You're not working to master that skill set and be able to turn that into a valuable, resource or innovation for the company that you're working for. So let's say that you're interviewing. Are you telling that recruiter or the hiring manager you know the process, but you haven't worked on, thought of, or actually implemented any way of actually making that process better? You're literally presenting that you can do the process. You're qualified, you're skilled, you've done the process before for many years. Fantastic. Are you telling them that you understand the process so clearly and so well that in different conditions and in different scenarios, you've been able to adapt your process or what you do in that situation to meet that need, at the moment? Meaning something doesn't go right. Someone is sick. You know what I mean? Market conditions change, policies change, rules change. What did you do to adapt in the moment to make that process successful? In the interview situation, if you are not sharing that level of detail in how you can impact their business, and they are also interviewing 4 to 5 other people that are similarly qualified on paper, but those other people are talking about how they were innovative, how they had to use critical thinking and problem solving, how they had to collaborate with a bunch of different people, how they had to understand how to operate with less resources. They had to operate under time constraints. They had to be successful when they didn't have clear direction. If they're able to explain all of that while you're explaining how you've been able to handle the process over many years, or hey, I realize that I really want to do that process. I haven't had experience in it, but I know I could do it. You do not compare well to those other 4 to 5 candidates. So it's not about blaming tools. It's not about blaming LinkedIn or platforms. It's really about how we decide to use those platforms. It's really how we decide to use those tools. I'll give you my area of expertise in terms of the recruiting process. So from someone leaving a job to the updating of a job description, to make sure that we understand exactly what that role does and what is needed for the future, and that hiring managers sharing what they want. We, end up creating a requisition in our system so the formal job can be approved, evaluated, assigned a compensation number. We can make sure that it's leveled and it matches up with the rest of our organization so it fits. And then we post the job. Now we're looking for candidates. We're hoping candidates see the post and they apply. That'd be fantastic. Most of the time, we actually have to go and reach out to candidates from a LinkedIn or other sourcing methods, whether it be networking or others, to find qualified candidates to then apply for the job. We start to screen those people against the job description, against the needs of the business, even against the culture and how we operate, and whether that person's going to be a good team fit. And then we get down to making final recommendations to the hiring manager. The hiring manager then has not only, that person, but their team meet with candidates. And then we try to come to a decision. Sometimes that process can last anywhere from 4 weeks to 8 weeks, obviously longer in some cases if you can't find the right candidate. But candidates also have a different expectation. They think that it should happen much quicker. You also have internal candidates vying for the same role. So they have the advantage of knowing the business, knowing processes, knowing the team, having worked in that environment before. So there's a huge value in evaluating internal candidates for advancement positions. So finally, we get down to the point of making a final decision, making an offer, and now we're deciding what money to offer. We're making an offer. We're kicking out offer letters. We're getting them set up for orientation and onboarding. And hopefully, we create a candidate experience that really puts the selected candidate in the best possible situation to be successful coming into the job. Now, we've also had, like I said, 4 to 5 other candidates that have interviewed. Obviously, it could have been hundreds of other applicants. We want their experience to be as positive as possible because we want them to apply again, continue to get better at their job, but apply again. It's hard to manage that, but it's something that we are all very interested in. Now, let's take AI in the recruiting process. There are certain steps of the recruiting process where AI could become very valuable. One, the hundreds of candidates. How are we communicating to them? When we get down to the top candidates who we want to interview, are we scheduling them efficiently? Is there a way of doing that in a way that makes it really seamless, especially if there are changes in the interview process, which often happen? People get pulled into meetings, they have to travel, personal things come up, we have to change around meetings. That extends the overall interview process for the job. So we say, 30 to 60 days, it could end up going longer, which is a problem for the candidate experience, but we venture on. Could AI help in pre-screening candidates? So we're touching more candidates and finding out if they didn't exactly put everything on their resume that they should have, but they have some of the requisite experience that we're looking for. Maybe uh, an AI agent could, or a chat bot could pre-screen them, go through pre-qualifying questions, and capture, I don't know, 10 to 15% more candidates that just didn't have the essentials on their resume. Fantastic. That's a value add. And then we get through kind of the candidate candidate response, candidate relationship management side, where we want to stay in contact with them as we're interviewing other candidates. We want to make sure that they are in the know of where we're at and what the status is. AI could be useful there. And then finally, as we get to providing them as much information as possible, what people don't usually realize is that it usually goes quiet once you select a candidate. Candidate's not really hearing from the hiring manager. Obviously, the recruiter is on to the next position and the next position. So it would be interesting if there was a steady feed of um, FAQ kind of information about the company, about the job, about the department, what status is the pending projects, let's say, that they're working on. I mean, just getting the candidate up to speed so they feel like they're walking in the door and they're not having to be quickly immersed and trained on minutia as they're walking in the door. They can focus on more substantive things because they've been informed beforehand. AI could play a critical role there. And then finally, as we made the selection and we're having to deal with the top 4 to 5 candidates that actually interviewed, as well as hundreds that weren't selected, how can AI be used to create, again, from a candidate management or candidate relationship management system, how can we build a relationship with them, provide them more information, thank them for their interest, but then guide them on maybe some of the key things that we are looking for, that whether they had it or not, it just kind of instills and prepares them for future positions. And then they can also be looped in on the trends, what's going on in the news about the company or the industry itself. Are there any non-confidential projects that we could share and where we're trending? And then obviously, hey, the employee experience. What we offer to the employees in terms of benefits, just as a marketing tool, what we're doing in the community, how we're handling our charitable work. There's so many things in terms of employer branding that AI throughout the entire process, but definitely towards the end and the beginning, but at the end could be used to really make the entire candidate experience a premium. So those are just some brief things from my standpoint. Obviously, I'm in situations where I am, you know, submitting resumes, getting turned down, talking to friends and other people that may have positions not the right fit. So we all deal with it, whether I'm an expert or not in my field. But at minimum, if you are not providing this level of knowledge and this level of service, then you're up against other candidates. And yes, I always say this is like golf. It's you against the course. It's not really you against competitors. But at minimum, if you're not able to handle the course, then when it comes to comparing your performance at the course versus your competitors, they're going to be advanced. They're going to score better than you are. So it's not about fearing AI. It's not about being mad at, blaming LinkedIn and other tools that are in your job search. I have 3 quick things that you should think about if you are dealing with a layoff or in the hunt for a new job. Number one, don't immediately jump to posting your resume to jobs. That is a cycle. That is a sales cycle. You are going to get more no's or silence than you will get yeses. Why would you want to start a process that's very psychological, right? It's very about momentum and how you feel. Why would you want to start that process where you're going to get more no's than yeses? Why not start with speaking to people closest to you and then expanding from there and talking to people that you know or in your network about what's going on with you, your skill set, what you want to do in the future, not belly aching about what happened to you or what the bad things were that happened in the previous company, but more so your expertise, your knowledge of the process, how that process could be made more efficient, how you've done that in the past, and obviously the types of companies or the opportunities that you're looking for in the future. Those are affirmative, yes, small yes, but yes conversations. Those things make you feel better about your process. And then as you may be applying to jobs, you're actually going to build a momentum on your own that puts you in a better situation to be successful overall. So don't start posting the jobs immediately. Talk to your network on a very personal level and give them a sense of, what you're doing, what you're great at, and what you're looking for. And then the last thing is ensure that your story that's going to be told 24/7 for you by these different platforms or by your resume all are in sync. You've enthusiastically and thoroughly updated your resume. You've taken out all the negative stuff that has happened, but you've looked at that process and you've described how you were excellent at that process and how you innovated and the different great experiences that you've had and who you collaborated with and what technology that you used and what time frames you operated under and what resources did you have to use, and when you didn't have resources, how'd you problem solve? You want to have all of that succinctly in a resume that's under 2 pages, period. Once you have that, you now want to also have your LinkedIn profile mirror that resume. You want to make sure that it is a marketing document that accurately describes your expertise and skills and puts you in the best possible situation to be identified by recruiters like myself or, hey, AI search agents or prompts. You want to make sure that you've explained it so well that you get picked up in those searches. And then finally, as you start to network and interview, guess what? The resume, the LinkedIn profile, your preparation on your expertise and knowledge, that is how you get better at interviewing. So that's also a process of interview prep that makes you your optimum. Now, you're always going to be continuously learning and growing, but this is how you get better at it. So again, it's really a process of recruiting recruiters as the recruiters are also looking for you. And when you find the right position, the right process, it does take faith to stay strong in this process, to stay sharp, but you can do it. So again, don't fear and bemoan the technology that's coming. Master that technology, understand how it helps the process that you're already an expert in, potentially how you've used it to be more efficient and add value to your company. And that way you are taking all of the kind of negative force and energy that's coming at you in the media and the marketplace about that technology and those tools, and you're redirecting it towards helping you be successful in your job search. So avoid the disaster of jumping right into posting for jobs and waiting for a response and being mad that you've applied to 1,000 different jobs and you haven't had any responses. Don't do that. Make sure that you're talking to people that are going to then echo your interests, your skills, your experience, and your wants. And then from there, you're also kind of building the system and the infrastructure around you that will give you 24/7 support and sharing the same consistent message about your skills, your value, and what you can bring to the table. And from there, you are now in a comprehensive search, leveraging the technology around you, and you will be unstoppable. So that's the short piece today. Sorry, a lot of talking, a lot of quick talk, but stay tuned to additional SkillSharp content on SkillSharp Media. And obviously, there will be another off script career advice coming soon. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow us.